Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Is that the Wanderer returning?
It is the Wanderer returns, yes. How's things?
Well, more importantly, how are your things?
My sleeping things are fine. I was given some serotonin tablets, which seemed to make a major difference. I took 2 when I got back about 9 o'clock in the morning, slept through till 5 like a log, and the children came and woke me up. And then I went out for dinner in the evening and then was ready for bed again by 10 and slept through till 5 in the morning. Since then, I've pretty much adjusted. It's fantastic.
Good.
Apparently, that's the natural. You can buy them over the counter in most
Yes,
countries,
people have been banging on about serotonin for a while. It's all to do with daylight, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Natural circadian rhythms and things.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend them to get back after jet lag. It's worked.
So I'm thinking Sydney to Shoreham.
Yes.
That's quite a culture shock, isn't it?
It feels all right. I mean, I've got some funny things to tell you about the journey, but
okay.
But yes, it's you know it's a bit surreal, really, isn't it? That you can get up one morning in one country, travel back through time, and arrive at somewhere that's very, very different. But you're just still you. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. And for a woman that's travelled a lot in her life and understands the maths and the geography and the time zones and everything, there's a part of me that still doesn't get it at all because it's too freaky, isn't it?
It is freaky. It ain't natural, Judith.
No, it ain't natural. No, it ain't proper either.
No. For 500 souls to cram themselves into a tin can,
I know,
and travel at 500 miles an hour, halfway around the world.
I know.
When did that become normal?
Well, see, my brother always used to say, and I think we're not far off it now, that the best thing would be if we just went out to Heathrow and we were microdotted. We were turned into, 500 people could fit on the head of a pin, and we were just like bulleted over to Sydney so that we didn't have all of this lapsed time of how many hours it is and time differences and everything. It's just, it's brilliant, but it's still quite herding-ish, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And I actually seriously considered upgrading for the trip back.
Yeah.
But all of the business class seats had sold out. And I'm really glad I didn't spend $1,000 upgrading, because when I got on the plane, it wasn't one of those big luxurious double-decker planes. It was a nasty little tin can plane. And the business class people just, they had the facilities, but they weren't really separated out from anyone else at all. So everyone going to the loo was walking past them.
It's interesting you should bring up the loo, because I think the thing that makes me most uncomfortable about the whole thing is it's not a focus on bodily functions, but there's no elegance around eating and expressing what we've eaten.
Yeah.
It's back down to sort of human needs.
Yes, but interestingly, everyone is very respectful of that. So everyone,
well, but we're pretending. We're pretending, really, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, I've got to tell you about my 2 travel companions.
Okay.
So I sat down and I must confess to booking myself into a disabled slot, because they were the only seats left when I checked in the morning. And I thought, I've got to have an aisle seat. I cannot be trapped, because my legs, if I don't get up and move around regularly, my legs ache so badly. And I thought, I'm gonna just book myself into one, because there can't be anyone else left to book by this time, surely. And so I sat down in this seat, and then someone came along and sat in the front of me, and his wife and daughter were next to me, and he was in front, and he turned around and he very politely asked me, he said, would you mind swapping aisle seats here, because then I can sit with my family? And I thought, well, I don't mind as long as it's an aisle seat. Anyway, worst thing I ever did. The couple I ended up next to were charming. They were really, really nice, but the guy was an absolute fidget. I don't think he stopped moving for 14 hours, Judith. He was big. He spread out his legs. You know how guys do? They spread out his shoulders. And eventually his wife had to tell him to move, I think, because he just did not, his knee was going up and down, his hands would, it was like OCD. He had to keep doing these sort of hand motions all the time and stretching up and reaching, forward and leaning on the seat in front. And he just didn't stop moving. It drove me crazy. I couldn't sleep because I was constantly aware of him moving. And every time he moved, he flapped the sleeve of my thing I was wearing. So it was just all too close, really. And then I got to Dubai and I thought, well, that was utter hell. It can't be any worse. And I sat next to the most OCD guy, even worse than the other one. He kept having hand trembles, which he could only control by doing this ritual of stroking and tapping, and he ended up culminating in tapping the backs of his hands, each hand 3 times with his fingers. I thought either he's doing EFT because he's scared or something, or he's completely the OCD, and he wasn't very friendly either, so at least the other chap was friendly.
Well, you've just given me 2 reasons to upgrade, because although people were going past you to the toilet, you would have been further away from your neighbours.
Well, exactly, yes. And the second guy on the second flight, I had to wrap myself in a blanket because every time he moved his arms, my top, which I'm never wearing a bat-wing top again either, he kept catching my top, and I was constantly being tickled by my own top being moved by his arms.
There isn't enough room.
No.
Marion has told me over the weekend that I may not call the back of the plane scum, but it's just awful. I can't think of another word then. It's
cattle class, I think.
Well, I don't think we can. Yes, they do, but I don't think we can use that expression either.
No.
I mean, if it wasn't for budget airlines, nobody would be able to travel the world.
That's very true. It's very true.
But proximity to other people,
it's too close. It really is.
Can be.
And this was Emirates. I mean, Emirates is supposed to be one of the best ones, but it certainly wasn't on that 14-hour flight. Although on the way out there, it was fabulous. The plane was only half full, and we could all, stretch out a bit. And
I suppose it could be. I don't know. What could it be? Could it work? Do the Australians have the same Easter holiday dates as us? Could it be that?
I don't know. Anyway, the noise-cancelling headphones worked a treat, as I've mentioned. And Nelson's explained today how they work. Apparently, when you turn them on, there's this little pop noise, and he can actually hear that there's 2 tones being broadcast through them, which cancels out everything else.
It's white noise, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Apparently.
It's called white noise.
You can't hear it, though.
No.
But that's what he explained it was, and it really was. And I had a complete fiasco with my luggage when I got to check in, because I travelled out here happily with a medium-sized suitcase and the largest cabin bag I could get. But of course, at Superfast Business, we all got 5 or 6 books given to us for free, and a big fat hoodie, which I left my brother. Actually, I couldn't fit it in at all. And I hadn't really shopped at all, but everything didn't seem to go back in my suitcases very well. And when I got to the check-in, she noticed that my hand luggage was heavier than it should have been, and so she insisted on weighing it. Then she made me move all my stuff around to try and get it into the other suitcase, which was jam-packed.
I've seen that happen. It's awful at check-in, isn't it, when you see people repacking their suitcase?
Yeah, and then she made me put some of it in my big handbag, which I really struggled to carry because it was now full of my laptop and my books.
Yes.
And it was really heavy. And she said, you can use trolleys, but there aren't ever any trolleys around because everyone's got wheelie suitcases now. So I was really struggling, and I was really cheesed off, but I wasn't going to leave those books behind. So I pushed myself through it all. But generally speaking, apart from those things, the flight was all right.
Well, can I tell you that I've written down 2 good things: serotonin and noise-cancelling headphones, and 4 bad things: fidget to Dubai, OCD, hand trembles, luggage fiasco, hoodie and books. You've just explained to me why I haven't been on a plane since 2010.
You've got to use a 4-wheel suitcase. It's the only way. And your hand luggage has got to be... That's another thing. I'm not dragging my suitcases on 2 wheels any longer. It's going to be 4-wheel swivel wheels, or not at all. Luggage
is going to be a bit of a topic for today's podcast, so I'll warn you. Now, anything else about your week?
No, not really. No, I'm going to talk about some of it in the focus of the week.
Indeed,
aren't I? So.
You are, yes.
Yeah. Go on
Okay.
then, what's your week?
Well, I've got a busy week in prospect because, we're doing 2 of these for starters, one today, Monday, and one on Thursday. But on Thursday and Friday, my house moving begins. So in the afternoon, after we've spoken in the morning, I'm doing the first run up to my nephew's gaff with some of the staff and to feed the cat his after work on Thursday tea. And then I come back here to sleep and then moving out of here on Friday morning. And going on the luggage topic, I'm very happy to have packed up so much of my stuff and decided to go with the storage option because traveling lighter for the spring and summer months is very appealing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how much of the stuff, and remember, everything I own fits in my car. It's interesting how much of my stuff was in what I call deep storage in the living room here, a room I've never used because it was too cold. So I just put all my stuff in there. And, if I've been in there once or twice to get something out of deep storage across 5 months, I'd be surprised, to be honest with you. But something nice happened, which is the couple that own this house have invited me back for next winter if I want to come.
Oh, nice.
That is nice because, of course, it takes half the year's house-sitting anxiety away.
Yeah.
And now, and I'm already booked, as you know, thanks to you and Tiny House Sitters, what is called Trusted House Sitters, and my nephew. I'm already booked to the 1st of July. So I've only got a little gap now, July, August, September and October, 4 months. And then I know where I'm going to be living for a year. And that feels very reassuring.
Yeah.
And the gardening lady came last week and made them some lovely window boxes to come home to, a welcome gift from me, and that's nice. And I find myself, well, this afternoon, because it's sort of vaguely sunny, really looking forward to my, upcoming house-sitting adventures. Change is as good as a rest, Nicola, changing up the routine and the location, meeting new people and new cats. That this little house here that's been cold is comfortable, but the location of this house is duller than dull, to be honest with you.
Is it suburbia, is it?
Well, it's worse than that, actually. There's no reason to get in the car and pop out.
Oh.
I know. And there's no reason to pop out on foot anyway. So, but, generally speaking, it's been a positive experience. And I will, if I'm still free, will return next winter, actually, because to have a house to yourself that's private, secure, quiet, and comfortable and everything but warm is...
Is there any reason why it's not warm? Is there no central heating?
There is central heating, but the house... It's a very long time since I've lived in a house that is so leaky. Ah,
okay. Lets out the hot air, does it?
Well, you could effectively spend, I don't know, 50 or 100,000 on this place and transform it. But it's almost like everything you might want to do. It's easier to move house, to be honest. It's all quite structural.
Okay.
But they, given that they spend the cold winters in Argentina and the warmer springs and summer here, they don't really need to spend that money.
No.
And who can blame them,
Yeah.
But I will have to volunteer for the practically 24/7 gas bill that I've had on for 5.5 months because I don't think that's reasonable to lay at their door. But anyway, there we go. Now, tell me what has fueled your fire.
Well, what's fueled my fire? It's an interesting one, this, because I'm fueled by the fact that I don't feel I have to do so much. If I'm going to find my new members by going and doing speaking engagements, which I think I'm going to pursue that idea this year, then I don't need to do so much marketing, which is a bit interesting. But as I don't know what marketing works and what marketing doesn't, because I still haven't found a way of tracking it beyond investing in wicked reports, which is a bit of a setup job apparently. My fuel is fired by not having to do so much.
Well, it's interesting that a client, the guy that wrote the foreword to my book, let's not mention him by name, I tried to persuade him initially to do what you've just done, which is don't market for 12 months of the year, just market sufficiently to sell all your slots at one time of year, and when they're gone, job done, you can take the rest of the year off. Now, can you guarantee, and I'm speaking like you now, we're kind of swapping roles, you and I, Can you guarantee that you'll be invited there next year and do your 60 sales there next year?
I have already been invited there next year.
Great.
And I also was introduced by James to someone who's got an even bigger community of Amazon sellers.
Oh.
Who wants to see my presentation. So
a nice niche for you.
Well,
developing.
it is, and it also gives me a new bunch of people to market to on Facebook, of course.
And Neil won't be scarce about that, will he? Or will he?
It's really funny actually, because the other chap said, "Oh, I know Neil. Let's take a picture of us together, and I'll send it to him." I thought, okay.
Yeah.
And so he did, and Neil popped up and said, "Oh, I see you met so and so," and I said, "Yes, I did. This is what I thought of him." And Neil actually agreed with me on my, what's the word?
Summary.
Yes, exactly. My initial impressions.
Yep.
So Neil's not being scarce at all about it. He knows that I might speak for this other chap, but we've got a special relationship. And
I don't think Neil is a scarce man, actually.
No, he's not. No, not at all. No. So,
you're speaking my language there. You're preaching to the choir, aren't you?
Yes, exactly.
You have turned into such a weirdo. You've turned into me. It's quite scary, actually.
I've turned into a 3 or 4 year behind version of you.
How funny that is. It actually matches our age difference. We're about 6 years. You're about 6 years younger than me, I think.
Well, I'm about 6 years behind you on the woo-woo.
well, there's that. Yes.
So what
Anything
about
else?
No, that's it. What's fueled your
Okay, well, a wonderful side effect of putting my website into mothballs for a while is that the endless spam that uses the contact form simply stopped and went to zero from that moment onwards.
That's so weird. I never get spam through my contact form.
Oh, endlessly. I honestly, I'm 5 to 10 emails a day fewer in my inbox.
Wow.
Which is inbox bliss. Now, I wonder what sort of bot they could use that can't find your contact form when your website's in maintenance mode.
Yeah, I think your contact page is still there, but they obviously just can't find it.
Well, no, none of my pages work when you're in.
Oh, right, okay.
They all divert to the front page.
Oh, okay.
But they can't have gone looking for websites that had a contact form. There must be something they can scour to find that. You can't do that job manually. That's madness.
Well, no, but there's always software that will do things for you, isn't there?
Yeah, but it can't find me when I'm in maintenance mode. I've put inbox bliss.
Yeah.
And now that the second benefit is now that I've stopped sending them, I feel freer to unsubscribe from those of others. I realise I don't like. You know how you've always been a bit weird. I always think you're a bit weird because you say things like, and Irene said the same thing this week. I've you and both you and she both prefer not to have any commitments in your diary.
Yes.
And what I've realised is I don't like reading in my inbox, with the major exception of emails from clients. I love those, and I actually love their newsletters as well. But I just unsubscribe from 2 that I know who they are. I know where to find them if I ever need them. I know what they do. I know how to recommend them to everybody. I don't need to receive their emails every week. And I follow them on social media, so I know what they're up to. I mean, when I get the chance to go to somebody's website, I never subscribe to their newsletter. And I always teach people sell as you buy. And now I've stopped. I mean, I've seen their newsletters come in and out on Thursdays and Fridays for months and thought, I don't even read that, delete. And then after I'd stopped sending them, I thought I could probably unsubscribe and put something nice explaining why I was doing that. And one of them PM'd me this morning to say, thank you for that lovely, elegant message you put when you unsubscribed. Anyway, whatever. And I wondered last Friday how I would feel when my first newsletter didn't go out at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I asked myself in the hour before, how do you feel? And the answer was nothing. I didn't feel relief. I didn't feel loss. I felt nothing. I felt completely neutral. I did feel the urge on the day before, Thursday, to write a longish piece on Facebook. And I might do a few more of those. And I've already got one in mind this coming week about Abraham Hicks and a spectacular result a client of mine had within 24 hours on Friday and Saturday. But at the moment, I'm not planning anything. I'm just following nudges. If I feel like writing, I've got somewhere to publish. I appreciate the better, more instant. Do you remember in the olden days when you and I used to blog a lot, and we couldn't ever hold and stash blogs when we'd written them? We had to publish. Do you remember? Yes. And I feel the same about Facebook, which is when you send it out, you get instant, engagement. You can see who's enjoying it. You can have a conversation with them. It's better than a newsletter, actually, because I used to write my newsletters on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays and save them up to send them out on Fridays at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I appreciate this more live response and relationship I have in the moment across the course of a week. And I think I could make more of that in different ways. Not immediately, but now that I don't have to think about the newsletter as well. And as I always say to clients, Facebook's a global marketplace, big enough more than big enough for anyone. And as such, I'm planning to use it better and more. And I feel that I'm spreading myself less thinly.
Well, it's
almost the opposite of be everywhere online. It's like, well, I'm only going to be one place online. But it's sort of how I think in a way.
luckily our listeners enjoy our complete diametrically opposed viewpoints on things. I feel a mild panic at the idea of what you're doing, and the thought of not sending my newsletter. I mean, although I do sometimes miss a week or two.
Oh no, you miss more than that. The other day you confessed to missing 4 weeks.
Yes, but in fact, I don't even know if my newsletter's gone out last week or not, because Margelle was doing it, and I'm not sure if she sent it yet or not. But the thought of, because I see it as reaching different people in different ways, and it's not like.
I think it's exactly the same as what I've just said to those two ladies whose newsletters I unsubscribe from. I know who you are. I know where to find you. I know what you do. I know how to recommend you. I don't really want you in my inbox, and I don't really want to be in your inbox. You know, the people, I feel that the network that I have on Facebook is bigger and more current and more engaged.
But what about the fact that Facebook is constantly trying to find ways to limit your reach?
As I told you last week, I can just reverse. I'm not shutting anything down.
No, all right.
Don't panic for me, honestly. Just panic for yourself, and keep your panic to people that need it. I don't need or want your panic. All right.
Okay, all right. I will calm down on my.
Well, all I'm telling you is of the beauties that I've had already. I don't get any contact form spam. I felt able to unsubscribe from newsletters of other people I wasn't reading.
Yeah.
And that just brings me bliss in my email inbox, which is a bit like you and Irene with your diaries.
Yes.
No more emails. I don't think I'm alone there. I think everybody else will come around to that in the end.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
So we're going to do Travel Broadens the Mind, what I learned on my trip by Nicola Cairncross in Focus of the Week, because I think, increasingly the messages are coming to us that they like to hear what we're up to. And, you've been there a month, haven't you?
Yes. I mean, I can't even imagine what possessed me to leave home for a month.
No, neither can I. But let's take the luxury of our middle section today to talk about, a bit more in depth, rather than those tantalising little snippets you've been giving us. Tell us the bigger picture.
Should I give you the big news, which you already know, what happened at the end? Should I tell you at the end, or should I tell you at the beginning?
Is it about the website?
Yes.
The pink envelope. Yes. Yeah, whatever. I don't mind what order you do it in.
Okay, so the overriding theme of this month away has been synchronicity, law of attraction, magic, enjoyment. It's been amazing. Everything that fell into place for me to be able to go there. And it started the day I bought the Superfast Live ticket to go, because it was dirt cheap, because James always gives his members a, go at it first, and it goes up as time gets nearer. And I didn't really seriously think I was going to go when I bought that ticket, but I wanted the choice, so I bought it anyway. It's only a few $100s. And then everything started falling into place from the point of view of literally within a couple of days. Neil contacted me and said, do you want to speak? I knew I'd make sales there, which would cover the cost of the trip and more. Then the lovely Kylie contacted me saying, she'd seen me speak in London, and could I speak for them? So it was all shaping up really nicely. And then I contacted my brother thinking I would be sharing his flat with him, and he ended up being somewhere else anyway. So I got a luxury pad overlooking Potts Point Bay all to myself. And it was like, it was like a luxury hotel. It was fantastic in this amazing area with lots of shops and restaurants. And it was very, very central. So it cost me about, 13 to 15 Aussie dollars to get an Uber into the centre and back. So I was able to pop in and out of wherever I needed to be. It was all worked very, very well. And so that was the magic of it. And then it got even more magical, because I was just getting to the point where I was thinking, I could go home now. And it's Superfast business, and I wasn't sure, I was sort of looking forward to it, but not really looking forward to it. But then as the days went by, I was sort of thinking, this is going to be good, and everyone in the forum was getting really excited about it and everything. Anyway, so I pitched up on the first morning, and it was a great day, and the speakers were really good, and I was making notes, but not too many notes, because James gets everything transcribed for everyone. And then there was a dinner in the evening, and I'd taken my party top, and a pair of trousers to change into, because I knew I wouldn't be bothered to go home in an hour and a quarter, and then come back again. So I just changed in lieu. And thank God I did. Anyway, James had been telling us all day to move to a different table each time, each break, and I hadn't done that. So I thought, well, I'll do that in the evening. I'll go and sit on a different table. And I sat down with a bunch of complete strangers and looked around and thought, oh, am I doing the right thing here? You know, should I go and find someone to sit with who I know? Before I knew what was happening, James and someone else was on stage, and they were saying, oh, we've got a competition, and all you needed to do was sit down at your chair tonight, and we've stuck the winning envelopes underneath your 2 chairs in the room. So feel underneath your chair, and if you've got a pink envelope. And Judith, I swear, I wouldn't lie to you here, I had a premonition I was going to win. It was like a moment in time when everything slowed down, and I thought, wouldn't it be lovely if I won? And then actually, I'm probably going to win the other prize that I don't actually need, so I'll give it back. I had time to think all that, and then I felt under my chair, and there was something under there, and I thought, oh, there's something under my chair. I've won something, and I never win anything, never win anything. And so I tipped my chair up and had a look, and it was a pink envelope. And James said, no, don't open it there. Come up, you know. So I waved it, obviously, and so did the other person. And he said, come up on the stage. And I'd already opened it a little bit, enough to see that I'd won the thing that I really wanted, which was a $4,000 makeover of my website by Greg Merrilees, who's one of the most respected web designers in the field, and all the people, you know. I mean, if I was going to choose anyone to redesign my website in the whole wide world, it would be Greg Merrilees. And now I've just won a website redesigned by him.
Right, point of order here. Was he the man that made your app?
He's the man who redesigned my app. Yes.
I knew, because when I saw you mention his name, I thought, oh, that name is familiar in connection. Yeah, it sounds familiar in connection with your app. Yeah.
Yes. Well, when Jared redid everyone's apps onto new software, he got Greg Merrilees to just spruce them up a bit for him.
Okay.
And so, yes, you know, it was a totally miraculous thing. And the fact that I had that premonition that I was going to win was so weird. So weird. And I got on stage. I don't know if you've seen the picture, but we had a real laugh on stage. And someone captured the moment of James and I having a real laugh about something. I can't even remember what it was about. I was in such a daze of excitement.
Have you noticed something about that picture?
No.
You've got strangely clenched fists.
I know. I don't know what's going on.
No, neither do I. It's almost like you're not going to punch somebody. There's no aggression in them, but it's kind of like, it's almost like a little girl, quite excited.
Yeah, well, I think that's what it was. I think I was clenching my fists with excitement.
Yeah.
It was the most amazing moment. It really, I could not believe I'd won, but at the same time, I'd had that strong premonition I was going to win. And it makes me go goose pimply just thinking about it again. So
okay, now draw breath. Another point of order here.
Yes.
When I called my second group, Small Business Big Magic, back in 2014, I bet you squirmed, didn't you? Because magic wasn't in your reality then.
No, I don't mind it.
Well, now look what you've done now. You've used it about 3 or 4 times here, and premonition goes very much in line with that. And I went with a magic-y gang to an event in London, which was on my birthday quite a number of years ago, and it was Michael Neal and Robert Holden. And I got a premonition that and we were in a room of 200 people. I got a premonition that one of us, and we were about 10, was going to go on stage. And they pulled a ticket out, and it was one of our number, but she hadn't come, and she'd given her ticket to Janet Swift. So Janet Swift had to go up on stage and pretend initially to be this other person. But I knew it, Nicola. I knew it was going to be us. I knew it was, that our vibe was so high. Yes. I knew we were going to be on stage.
And that's how I felt as well. I felt like I was vibrating the whole month I was there, really. And
have you heard how many of the Esther victims in those videos say, oh, I knew you'd pick me?
No.
No, I haven't. Spot that now. You know when she talks to members from the audience?
Yes.
Oh, about 9 out of 10 of them go, oh, I knew it was going to be me.
How funny.
Yeah, isn't it?
But the other thing was, I was on a real high because the Merrymaker girls were there, and they said how much they'd enjoyed being interviewed by us. And then Blair and Wendy turned up, and I mean that's the Las Vegas mastermind gang, and I haven't seen them since South Lodge in West Sussex about 3 years ago.
Well, those Merrymaker sisters are just little loves anyway, aren't they? Oh, they're little loves and squidgers. Yeah.
You want to see what they can do with their legs now? They've been doing yoga and Pilates for 2 years. They can get into all sorts of bendy positions.
Yeah, that would have been handy on the plane coming back, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. So, it was great. Katrina, who's a friend who I made 3 years ago, was there. And, it was just fabulous. Jared was there who made my app. And there was just so many nice people. Lots of people came up and said, oh, I see you're contributions in the forum, and I just wanted to say hello. So it's a bit like being a minor celebrity, even at because I'd come.
Yeah, I think that the furthest you go to a thing like that, the more famous you are, actually, aren't you?
Yeah. And so anyway, so that was that, and so I've been thinking about the themes that came through. I'm quite a fearful person. That is still quite an issue for me. I don't like sleeping in places I haven't seen the picture of yet. So I didn't know what Alex's flat was going to be like, but I did know it was going to be lovely because he's so particular. But I didn't know, I was still a bit unsettled at the idea of staying somewhere I didn't know what it looked like. And I really, because I'm still quite scarred by not having any money for a long time. So I really, and especially, the fact I got there and my credit cards didn't work because I was in a different country, and some of them were pay-as-you-go cards, and, people don't like that very much. And, my bank being closed and all that business. So I had a few issues, but as soon as I got to the point where I was able to work out which card did work, and it was only, I could transfer a big chunk of cash onto it, I was then able to relax with that whole being able to pay for things. But it made me feel quite stressed until that point. It was lovely meeting up with people who, for some reason or other, you've got the right energetic connection with. I walked into Neil and I hardly talk through the year. We pop up on each other's messenger occasionally, but we don't chat on a regular basis. But then I walked into the room when the Airbnb he'd hired for us. And again, I felt, a bit stressed about going to stay somewhere I didn't know anything about, but it was perfectly lovely. And we just started talking like we'd never been apart. Do you know what I mean? It was really weird. And ditto Katrina, who's someone I met 3 years ago, and we got on really well. And she's been very sweet because she lost a brother around the same time I lost Steve. So we've occasionally shared condolences or commiseration, supportive messages anyway. But, we just immediately hung out again, and it was like, that was really nice. So you could meet, the theme I'm trying to get to here is you can meet people on the internet who become lifelong friends, even if they live in a different country and you don't see each other very often.
Yeah.
You just have the same energetic connection or vibration with them. Interestingly, people actually went to Superfast Business on my recommendation because I said I was going, and I thought it was one of the best events of the year, and people, quite, high-powered people, turned up and bought tickets at the last minute just because I said I was going, which was really nice. James was absolutely charming. He was really, really friendly and really nice. And, he was just very welcoming, and it was just really nice. And then there was this Mother's Day nonsense in between. So the kids were getting a little bit, oh, it's Mother's Day, you're not here, what are we going to do? And I said, oh, look, it's a manufactured, made-up day. We'll have our Mother's Day when I get back, the day I get back. So please don't, worry about that. But the overriding impressions of the whole thing was that travel makes you feel alive. It made me feel alive, and I was so grateful to be able to go somewhere for the first time in 3 years, basically, and feel happy most of the time. In fact, I felt happy all of the time, Judith. Even when I was on my own, I felt perfectly happy, and I felt excited and ready for the next adventure. I went down to see some friends in Wollongong, got the train, really enjoyed that, double-decker trains. Who thought such a thing existed? So the overall theme was excitement, adventure, anticipation, friendship, connection, and being happy. Being able to be happy all the time is such a gift again now.
Do you think Oz is your place?
No, God, no. Jesus, no. No.
So Australia was irrelevant to this story.
Well, it was nice because Sydney is a lovely city. It's a very visually pretty city. It's got lots of old Victorian and Art Deco buildings. It's got lots of trees. I was staying in the really nice area. I travelled by Uber to other really nice areas. So I think Sydney helped enormously. I was always very conscious that, there were like millions of things trying to eat you if you move outside Sydney.
Yeah.
But I didn't meet any of those things, luckily. So, no, I don't think it was Sydney particularly, although Sydney was a lovely city. I think any lovely city would have done. But it was just because I haven't travelled much in the last 3 years, and I'd forgot how much I enjoyed it, I think. Grateful to be able to enjoy travel again now because I'm a happier person again.
Yes. So gratitude. So lots of all sorts of, I've written here, excitement, adventure, anticipation, friendship, connection, happy, grateful, lot of lovely Well, vibracious words.
Yes. And the main other thing I want to say is that every single person who got on that stage who is really super successful, James doesn't have any people who aren't on his stage, and they were all a really mixed bag of lookers. You know, they weren't your average, you know, suit dressed American
But
salesman
the thing I
type.
liked about that photograph of you was that he was in just a blue check top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everyone was very casual. The speakers were very casual. And because they weren't selling anything, they were just sharing their knowledge. And
Yes.
the thing that really impressed me was every single one of them went through a little mindset module in their talk. And they all said, the one thing that makes the difference is your mindset. They said, I could stand up here and tell you tactics, and I'm going to in a minute. But first of all, I want to tell you about this. And they either told about their story or they just told about the fact that, you know, that what they see makes a difference is mindset. And you've got to get a grip of it.
Yeah, do you remember when we went to a meeting once? It wasn't a very happy meeting. It was quite a big meeting. There was you and me and Jill Fielding, Shah Wasmond, Rohan Weerasinghe, that married couple that worked very well with Jill, endless people in a boardroom. And Rohan said, there is absolutely no point us trying to teach any of these people anything at all if we don't start with the groundwork of mindset.
Would that have been the Wealth Conference?
No, it was when we were planning or contemplating sort of joining forces of all the different wealth factions. It didn't last very long. Jill kept talking about having a helicopter view, but Rohan was absolutely he was right, because that married couple that went out on Jill's behalf and tried to do property mentoring in their homes, Derry, do you remember Derry?
Oh yes, Derry.
And
yeah.
Rohan, Derry and Rohan and that married couple and Jill's team, they had to go into people's home and teach them how to buy to let properties, and they were just too fearful because they hadn't done any mindset work, they hadn't done any personal development work. And Rohan was I've never forgotten how assertive he was in that meeting. He basically said, well, we're all wasting our time just trying to teach them this stuff because they're never going to go home and do it because they haven't done the foundational work that we'd all done and continue to do, actually, because you're never done. It is a permanent journey, that work, isn't it?
And I think lots of people aren't willing to embark on a permanent journey. You know, I go through phases where I binge learn and binge work on myself, and then I have perhaps a week where I think, rest. Oh no, I can't do anything.
No, I think we should have rest, and because we need the assimilation time.
Yes, you need to let it absorb in.
You need to settle down. Yeah, it kind of goes in lumps, actually, doesn't it? It's sort of go forward a bit, chill, go forward a bit more.
Yeah, but that was one thing that just stood out for me on the whole SFB conference, was everybody who was successful attributed it to their mindset and the work they'd done on themselves before they'd actually taken any tactics.
And conversely, if you've done a lot of that, to have to keep going back to 101, I find quite annoying. But I do think it's essential.
Well, what do you mean going back to 101?
Well, 101 is like ground level stuff. Mindset is ground level stuff. And if every single one of the speakers took you back to ground level, I would have been impatient and probably, pissed off for a lie down.
Well, they only did it for like five. I mean, they were on for 45 minutes and they only did it for 5 to 10 minutes. So it wasn't, they then went on to teach quite detailed, advanced level tactics.
Yes.
But they all made the point that there's no point in them doing that if you don't work on yourself first.
Yes. I think the listener would be disappointed if I let you get away with one of the things that you said in that long story, that Mother's Day is manufactured.
Well,
Father's Day is manufactured. Mother's Day goes back to the 16th century. It's called Mothering Sunday. It happens to be coincidentally, we call it Mother's Day now, but it is a very UK-centric celebration in the Church of England.
See, I didn't know that.
Yes, it's historic.
Ah.
Yeah. Now, Father's Day didn't exist when I was a child, and my mother was always very grumpy because she didn't like Mother's Day being called Mother's Day. She liked it being called Mothering Sunday because she was a tiny churchgoer, not a God bother or anything, but she liked to go to church. And when they did invent Father's Day, which is probably 50 years old, 60 years old, maybe, I don't know, she was very grumpy about it because mothers don't get much, well, certainly not of her generation, much of anything in a home, yes. No. And to have the fathers horning in on that, my mother could never quite really forgive Hallmark for that, actually. But yes, you should. I think it's rather sweet that your children wanted to celebrate Mother's Day with you, and you go, "Oh no, it's just Hallmark. I'll see you when I get back." It's a little bit deeper than that, but I think it's nice. Now, what else on your list do you want to tell us about this?
that's pretty much it for the middle section.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done it.
All right, very good. Now, and some good learnings, some good lessons, and I thought they were worth sharing. And I think you've just proved me right, actually.
Oh, thank you very much.
Do you remember those things we had to write when we were little? You know, what I did on my Easter holidays by
Yes.
Judith Morgan, age 6.5. There you go. That was yours. It was good. So, do you have a word of the week?
I do, and it's living, and brackets to the max. Close brackets.
Okay.
Because that's
I like knowing you're alive.
Yeah, I think that's how I felt. I felt I was really living by doing that.
And again, it's not something I'd want to do 52 weeks of the year.
No, God,
it's too exhausting, isn't it?
Yes. And yours?
Mine is carefree. And I've got quite a little story to tell you here. I think I dropped out of the vortex for a while, for about 3 weeks, and I think it was due to all that moaning I did about going to Worthing. And as a consequence of that, my third PPI check didn't come within the statutory 28 days, and I wasn't allowed to phone them and report that, even though I knew it had gone wrong about 3 weeks ago. I wasn't allowed to phone them and report that till last Thursday. And now they want another 21 days to cancel the first one and deliver it. And that's 7 weeks, which has really rattled my cash flow and my sense of abundance. Or it had done until I had a good Abraham about it.
Yes.
It's a good job that even when it doesn't look like it, everything is still always working out for me. And usually I find that when I feel a bit wobbly and I don't seem to able to get back into the vortex, I do some extra Esther work and I get rewarded with the message, like the one from Argentina, that they'd like me to come back for next year. And interesting, given what you've just said, in my later years, weirdly, and I still sort of shake my head and look at myself as if I'm separate from me, I've turned into an over-planner and a mild worrier instead of carefree, which is a word that Marion and I conjured up together, I think, over the weekend. Anyway, we worked out, you know what wordsmiths we are. We honed down from a long list of words how we wanted to feel this week. And we couldn't really decide between, I can't remember what the ease was mine, and she had another one, but we settled on carefree in the end, because the whole vortex thing is you pop into the vortex, the jobs you want the universe to take care of, and then your job is to feel like you would feel if they had happened, because you're confident they're going to have happened. Yeah. And the best word we could come up with was, if all of the things that had happened were, the ones we've popped into the vortex, we'd feel carefree. And I realised, I don't really know how to feel carefree anymore. I even went so far as to Google it, because it's such a long time. I've turned into you, funnily enough. You've turned into me, and you're giving up your fearfulness and your scaredness. And as I get older, I seem to be this, over planner to the extent of worrying.
Yes, I have noticed that you like to even plan when you're going to have your showers.
Well, it's not every week, but the more stressy the week is. So last week, no need to plan anything because there's almost nothing going on. It's lovely and relaxed and I'm just chilling. But this week, I've got such a busy week. We're doing 2 podcasts and I'm moving house and so on and so on. And the cleaners are coming and The more that's happening, the more stress I am, and the more stressed I am, the more I have to plan. And afterwards, I think, I don't know why I fussed like that. It completely wasn't necessary. So I started in my later years to put myself through a completely unnecessary process.
Oh. What can you do about that?
Well,
then?
I was always a very good planner. I like,
yes.
Yes, I mean, I start to nag you if we don't have a topic of the week and things like that. And when I ask you innocent questions like, "Are you home? Are you all right?" I mean, I'm interested in that, but really, it's me going, "Will you be ready for the podcast?"
Yeah, I know. I'm fully aware of that.
And funny enough, once I can plan, so I know you're home and I know you'll be compos mentis, I can relax. Then it's funny. It's like provisos. There's something. Oh, I know. Emma, who's taking my stuff into storage, has not yet confirmed which day she will arrive and collect my stuff. And she knows that I've got cleaners here on Wednesday, and I'll be gone by Thursday afternoon. And it's Monday afternoon, and I haven't heard a confirmation from her. And I was standing in the kitchen. I thought, shall I go and nag her? And then I thought, no, just chill and
trust,
let other people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's against my nature. It's against my nature. It's also, I think, against her nature to let me down, and I have fully informed her. Yeah. So that's probably enough. Can I tell you another little story in this nature?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I bought 3 boxes full of plastic storage containers because some of my stuff was not either in a suitcase or in a Chinese laundry bag. So things like my little bits of pots and pans that I'm saving that I like to use in, my own stuff, little bits of stationery, lever arch files, stuff like that. They were just in open crates. And I thought, that's not really good enough for storage. So I bought some closed storage plastic so you can see what's in it with blue handles and lids. Do you know what I mean? You use the blue handles to lock the lids. But they were mammoth. One was 80 litres, one was 64 litres, and there were two small ones. So I'm giving Emma the big one, the middle-sized one, and the baby one. I'm keeping a baby one for the boot of my car. But they arrived in these enormous packages from Amazon, really, really robust cardboard. And it was quite a job to, use a knife or a pair of scissors and open them up. And then in this quite small house, manage the box it came in as well as the box. And then put my stuff in the boxes and put that in the packing room. And then I was left with these empty boxes. Look, what am I going to do with them? And I offered them to Emma because they were, what does a storage company need but more cardboard boxes? No, she didn't want them. So I had to persuade the recycling men to take them away this morning. And now we get a sort of bin to put that in. And I thought, what am I going to do if they don't take them and Emma doesn't want them? Because I can't take anything to a tip anymore because I'm a non-resident everywhere. Anyway, I managed to fold them up as neatly as I could, which was no mean task, into this box, which was big enough for, the free newspaper that you get through the letterbox that you don't want, and the envelopes that post comes in and stuff like that. There was another box in there. You know how much stuff comes in cardboard and paper packaging? That's what you're supposed to put in this box, not enormous 6-foot boxes from Amazon. And I put it out, hopefully. And I thought it was a 50-50. I thought the bin men might look at it and go, you are having a laugh, Judith Morgan. We're not taking that away. That's your problem. We're going to leave it with you. But the box is empty. So I didn't worry unduly about that. Given the carefree and the ease, I thought, well, this is my first test of the week. Will the bin men take away first thing this morning one of my problems? And they did. But I'd imbued it with this. If they take the cardboard, this week's going to be great. If they don't take the cardboard.
Oh, no.
Yes, but they took the cardboard, so we're all right. But there you go. It's mild worry. It's a mild worry and planning, because actually that would have been a problem for me because I can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
Can't leave it here and I can't get rid of it.
There's always a way, Judith.
Well, I tell you where I'm going. I'm going to the London Borough of Lambeth, which is what it still says on my driving licence. But that would have mean I'd got the proof to dump it in Lambeth. Anyway,
oh my God.
So we're not. Now, tell me about your project updates.
Well, there aren't any really. Let me think. No feedback from my screenplay yet, apart from Neil read it and loved it.
What do they promise to? What's the deadline they promise? You've paid. What's their delivery schedule?
Well, no, there's the two competitions have got closing dates.
Yes, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the one you've paid for.
Oh no, that one is that was within 28 days because I insisted on the top man.
Well, we're on about 21 days. I can tell you that now because it's the third time you've told me about it.
No, I thought I booked it two weeks ago.
Well,
anyway,
whatever.
I'm not even thinking about that. And
okay.
The other thing is the two competitions and the fact that I submitted it to Sheridan Smith's production company.
Yes.
She doesn't guarantee. She guarantees everything.
No, I'm not worried about those two. Yeah. I think I'm quite reasonable that, but I think the one you've paid for should come within the time that they offer.
Yeah, well, it will. I'm sure. I feel completely chilled about the whole thing.
Yes, good.
But I'd like some feedback to know whether my story making is good.
Quite. That's holding you up a bit. I mean,
it's stopping me.
But it will do. Yeah.
It's stopping me start on the next one. Put it that way.
Exactly.
Because there's no point in doing another one if I'm absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, I don't think you're absolutely rubbish, but the whole point of the critique is that you'll get better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I sent it off to the production company of that producer mate of mine.
Yes.
And his commissioning editor's reading it, so it'd be nice to get some feedback from there. But no, nothing really has happened. I haven't had time. I've just been too busy being magical.
No, and being on the plane for hours and hours.
Yes. Well, you can't do anything at all because
you can't. You can't. I can't even sleep. That's why I can't go to Australia. It's too far.
No. But yes, what about you then?
No news actually. No news on Worthing, except this huge mountain of paperwork I've got to do. It's all printed out, but I can't seem to put my nose to that particular grindstone, and I'm aware that the big U could be receiving this as a mixed message. I do want to sell, but not enough to do more non-digital bureaucracy. Why isn't this easier is what I keep asking myself. Ease is another word like carefree, that it's my intent to manifest. I don't like uphill pushing. And this wodge of paperwork is on the desk and depressing me slightly, but not enough for me to actually do anything about it.
Yeah. talking of which, I've got to go and sort myself out an international driving license this week.
Well, that's a good thing to have, actually. I'll tell you why off podcast. But
Okay.
I don't remember. I've bought and sold houses all my life. And I know you have to tick forms saying, yes, the light bulbs will be included, and no, you don't recollect it's ever flooded. But I never remember this much paperwork, honestly. It's a huge mound, Nicola.
I thought people did it for you, then you just signed it.
No, they can't. They can't say whether. Who can say whether? I mean, even I can't say whether the light bulbs are included because I've never been inside this flat.
Well, just nonsense, isn't it? Detail schmeetail.
Well, my point is that the detail schmeetail factor of buying and selling a property has grown since the last time I did it.
Yeah.
Massively. Anyway, let's not bang on that one.
No.
Tell me who or what's impressed.
Well, I've got to say, the hotel that the event was held in, James's organisational skills, because he does it all himself. He doesn't have an event organiser. There was, people that even the photographer had all the pictures, 500 odd pictures to him by 2 days after the event. It was astonishing. The dinner was fantastic. The hotel was fantastic.
He reminds me of me a bit.
It ran on time. He uses tick lists, and he shares his tick lists in the membership site. And it was just, really, really well organised. Everyone stuck to time. Everyone was respectful. They didn't run over. And it was just brilliant. Even the food was good in the hotel, because he supplied lunches and everything as well. It was just a beautifully organised event, a pleasure to attend.
Mm. And that's a good point, you see, that something that is well organised is a pleasure to attend, because then the audience don't have to get involved in why it's not working terribly well.
No, we just went where we were told, ate what we were told, listened to what we were told, and had a lovely time.
Which is quite restful for a change.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I had a lovely gardening lady here last week called Natalie, who put this very nice little postcard through my door about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer, and I saved it because I knew I'd want her in the end. And she's made these very nice window boxes and done a general external tidy up. And she was inexpensive. She was reliable. She came on time. She delivered exactly on spec. She cautioned me about watering, and she solved another problem I had. I had a little the former life-saving little oil-filled radiator that stopped working, and the one that literally kept me alive when I lived in Somerset. And again, because I'm not a resident, I couldn't take it to the tip, but she took it away for me. And there's a rag and bone man, believe it or not, here in Bromley. And she said, oh, he'll like it. I said, I've never seen him, but I've heard him go up the road and doing that funny chanting that they do. But of course, I couldn't rely on his coming before I left. And I said, if you're going to the tip with that, could you take something for me? She said, oh, no, I'll just leave it out on the pavement. I said, shall I leave it here? And she said, no, I'll take it. So, this nice woman about half my age did a brilliant job. And I've left her little lovely leaflet pinned to their corkboard in the kitchen, and I shall recommend her in the hope that they use her for any gardening stuff they don't want to do as they age, because of course she's building a fledgling little business from ground up.
Yeah. Good for her. We have a rag and bone man in Greece, and he goes around shouting through his megaphone, which apparently is bring out any old iron.
Yes, any old iron. That's what they used to say here. I mean, it's you can imagine what they're saying. You just can't work out what they're saying. I mean, yours is better than mine. I don't know whether he's saying any old iron. I don't know what he's saying. He's basically saying, I am passing my front door in my... I think he's even got... Could he have a horse and cart? I think he might.
Well, that would be very traditional if he did. Very traditional.
Is yours a horse and cart, or is he got a van?
It's a van. And which begs the question: when you hear him coming, how are you supposed to run down to the end of the road carrying any old iron?
Well, quite. It's actually not very far for me, but it's probably a bit further for you, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's probably uphill.
I mean, I'm wondering who's listening the world over who's no idea what a rag and bone man is, or actually who's just a lot younger than us and no idea what a rag. Can anybody remember Steptoe, for instance? Steptoe and Son. There was black and white telly, and that's what they did for a living.
That's right, and then they were very racist, as I recall.
Oh no, God! Don't nobody go to Google and YouTube.
No, don't
look that up, because we thought it was funny in about 1960, which most of those things we don't think are funny at all anymore.
No, but moving on.
Yes, moving on. No, we finished actually. Yes, we finished. Yeah,
that's
marvellous. I'm pleased that was a genius idea to have you be our star of the week, and I will see you on Thursday.
You will indeed. Speak to you soon. Bye.
How do they do it? Not a care and suffering. Wanna
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.